Actually, let me fix this. There we go. Alright. Boy, is there a movie that I need to show you fellow Roonies. This film is called The Phantom Carriage. You can never see the DVDs because it's so dark in this room, but it's the Criterion for The Phantom Carriage. It's got a really cool poster on the front. I actually bought this last, I think July, the last time they had the Criterion sale. And I picked this up, and I knew nothing about it. All I knew is that it was a silent film. I've heard very few people talking about it, so I didn't know much about it. And I decided, like, you know, this looks like the perfect movie to review during the Halloween season. So that's exactly what I did. I waited till the Halloween season to watch this film, and I'm here reviewing it for you now. The film is directed by Victor I don't know. It's directed by Victor somebody. And, yeah, The Phantom Carriage is, if you guys don't know, it is obviously a horror film. It's a silent horror film from 1921, I want to say. And this film is actually based off an old Swedish folktale. And, how the tale goes is that every, New Year's Eve, you know, the last man to die on the strike of midnight before the next year, is doomed to drive the Phantom Carriage. And basically every year somebody takes the driver's place, you know, so then they become, you know, the driver of the Phantom Carriage. And basically what they do is they do death's work for him. So they're collecting all the spirits of the dead, you know, everybody who has died throughout the years, they have to go and collect their spirits. So they're basically doing death's job, and they have to, you know, ride this Phantom Carriage, you know, just all around the world to anybody who dies at all. And it's a miserable, miserable job because apparently, you know, a full night feels like 1,000 years for the Phantom Carriage driver because, you know, they have to just go around and collect all these dead souls. And, yeah, it's just such a miserable job, you know. It's just, you know, everywhere they go, they feel misery and sorrow. And yeah, that's basically the whole folktale. However, this film specifically follows 3 drunk people. One of them tells them the story of the Phantom Carriage, you know, the old folktale. And, yeah, that's where I'm gonna stop, because I want you guys to watch this movie for yourself, because, it really surprised me. I did not think I would like this movie as much as I did, and yeah, oh my god, I love this film. Yeah, man, last year it was The Bride of Frankenstein and Nosferatu. Those are my 2 absolute favorite films of, that I watched last Halloween season. And this year, it's gotta be The Phantom Carriage. This is definitely up there for me. This is a really, really great film. I love this movie a lot more than I thought I would, you guys. It really blew me away, honestly. It's a really, really great film. In fact, rumor has it that when this film came out, you know, back in 1921, this was like the film of all films, you know. This movie was like the big movie when it first came out, and I could definitely see why, honestly. This movie actually inspired Ingmar Bergman. If you guys don't know who that is, he's the director of The Seventh Seal. He directed Persona, Wild Strawberries, Fanny and Alexander. He's done a bunch of movies, bunch of classic films, and this is the movie that inspired him to make movies, actually. I read that, you know, he watches this movie every summer, at least once a year, and he just watches it because it's the movie that got him into film, you know? This is what he considers to be like one of the greatest films of all time. And honestly, like I said, yeah, this movie was really surprising because the special effects in here are like way ahead of its time. Like, I kept thinking to myself, like, I can't believe this was made in the 20s. There was honestly some pretty groundbreaking special effects in this movie, you know? Stuff that you just would not think would be filmed in the 20s. Like, it was actually very, very impressive, especially for its time. And also, this movie inspired one of the greatest horror films of all time, The Shining. Yes, this movie actually inspired the axe scene, the axe to the door scene in The Shining, where Jack Torrance is, you know, axing the door. There's actually a scene in this movie that is pretty much identical to that scene. So that's where, you know, that idea for The Shining came from, was, you know, this very film. And yeah, you know, so obviously this movie had a lot of major influences on not only filmmakers, but, you know, just in films in general. So that should tell you right there, you know, just how important and sort of revolutionary this film really is. It's just such a wonderful film. And look, I know I said, you know, House on Haunted Hill has like a very spooky atmosphere, like a very Halloween vibe to it. This movie perfectly sums up what, you know, a spooky atmosphere should be. Like, this is the pure definition of what a gothic, macabre, spooky atmosphere should be. Like, this is just has some of the best atmosphere I've ever seen in a movie, honestly. And what really helps is the score, and I'm going to talk about the score for a minute. In this Criterion, the one I own, there were actually 2 different scores. One is from, oh, shut up. One, I believe, was from 1988 or 1998, one of those, and it's just sort of like a classical music score, you know, some of the just, you know, traditional scores that are in most silent films with all the classical orchestras and stuff. And then there's another score that was made in 2007, I want to say, very recently, and it's from I guess a group called KTL, and the music for that is like very ambient, you know, just kind of distorted guitar, like very, very spooky shit. And I actually watched this movie with the KTL score, you know, the one with the ambient spooky music, because that's actually how one of my friends watched it at first, and they recommended that I watch the movie with the KTL score. So I didn't get to hear, you know, the like classical orchestra score, so I don't really know how that score is, but I gotta tell you, the KTL score is awesome. It just makes the movie so much more creepy, so much more spooky, and it really, really helps with the sort of macabre atmosphere. It really helps with that, and the KTL score is wonderful. Like I said, very ambient music, like a lot of distorted guitars and just, you know, strings and stuff. So yeah, if you do have the Criterion, and if you do have the option to select either of the two scores, I would personally say the KTL, but then again, you know, I haven't listened to the classical orchestra score either, so I don't really know how that is, but yeah, the KTL score I absolutely loved. Yeah, guys, another thing that really surprised me about this movie is just kind of how meaningful it is, how heartfelt it is, in a way. Without spoiling anything, I'm not going to spoil the story for you guys, but just, I was really surprised, because I honestly thought the movie was just about that Swedish folktale about the Phantom Carriage, but there's actually, like, a legit story going on here that's actually kind of heartbreaking. And especially towards the end, you know, you empathize with the character a lot, even though, you know, he's just kind of like an asshole. You empathize with him. As a matter of fact, and I kept thinking about this throughout watching this movie, this is almost identical to A Christmas Carol. Like, almost identical. It's kind of scary. Like, I don't know if it's inspired A Christmas Carol, or if A Christmas Carol inspired this movie, or if, you know, they're just kind of both the same story, but just like a different variation of it. I really don't know how that is, but yeah, this and A Christmas Story, or am I saying A Christmas Story? But this film and the folktale and A Christmas Carol are very, very much alike, especially at the end. You guys will see what I mean once you watch this movie, hopefully, but yeah, they're very similar in that aspect. So when I say it's kind of heartbreaking and kind of meaningful, that's what I mean by that. And yeah, so The Phantom Carriage has to be one of the best silent films I've ever seen, honestly. It's up there for me with, like I said, Nosferatu and The Bride of Frankenstein as one of my favorite silent films. And overall, I gotta say, The Phantom Carriage is pretty perfect. I absolutely loved it. Every second of it, just everything about this movie, I absolutely adored. And overall, I'm gonna easily give this movie a 5 out of 5. Yep, a 5 out of 5. And I believe this is the first movie I gave a 5 out of 5 throughout the entire Halloween season. So there you go. If there's one movie you should watch that I reviewed this season, it's The Phantom Carriage. It's definitely, like I said, will give you that spooky Halloween vibes due to the atmosphere and the KTL score. Like, just all that stuff I absolutely love about this movie. So yeah, guys, extremely well made, you know, especially for its time. It's just such a great movie. I can't express that enough. But yeah, so that's pretty much all my thoughts on The Phantom Carriage. Definitely check it out. And that is it. That is it for this review, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I am Jacob Palacio, and I will see you guys later.